I'm Jo from Specialist Language Courses. We are OET premium preparation providers, here to help you prepare for your OET exam. In this video, we're going to look at linking and how we can use it in OET writing. The material in this video is taken from our online course, OET Preparation for Nurses Writing. It's a MOOC recently released by SLC on the Udemy platform, which has been specifically designed for nurses who want help with the OET writing test. So check out the link below. Let's get started. So first of all, what do you know about linking? Can you answer these questions? How important is linking and time referencing in the OET writing? And can you think of linking phrases for these functions? Adding information, comparing and contrasting, expressing results or cause and effect, and timing sequencing. So pause the video and just have a think about these questions first. So, how important is linking and time referencing? Well, very important. The reader needs to know when things happened and how they're connected. You don't want to overdo it and completely fill your letter with unnecessary linkers, but they really can help the reader follow the story of the patient. Let's take a look at some linking phrases for those functions. So we've got here some linking phrases and a table below. So again, I'd like you to pause the video and see if you can categorize the expressions in the correct column. Let's take a look at the answers. So, addition. There are several linkers of addition. These are the most common ones, in addition or perhaps additionally. Now, notice how we use them in a sentence. So, in addition is followed by a comma and then the phrase. And this usually goes at the beginning of a sentence. The same with additionally. In addition to is slightly different. It goes in the middle of a sentence, okay? And there is no commas. So for example, you might say, she was administered antibiotics in addition to IV fluids, for example. Okay, and notice it's always followed by a noun or ing form. Okay. However, is a common contrasting linker. You can use it at the beginning of the sentence, followed by a comma, or within a sentence as well. So you might say, for example, she has had several physiotherapy sessions and has been referred to a dietitian, full stop. And then you're doing the contrast. However, comma, she has been unable to lose weight and improve her physical fitness, or something like that. Okay, so just notice that you would use the however to express the contrast. Okay, and only do this if there is a contrast expressed in the case notes. Okay, don't make connections that aren't there. Expressing results or cause or effects, for example, as a result of, and that's normally followed by the noun or ing form. So, for example, he has made slow progress due to lack of motivation, for example. Okay. And then we've got the timing sequencing ones. Okay, so currently, you could talk about now. You could say currently, comma, he is able to mobilize with a wheelie walker, for example. Yes. Notice you can put currently before the verb as well. You could also say he is currently able to mobilize with a wheelie walker. Prior to the operation can go at the beginning of the sentence. So you might say something like, prior to the operation, comma, he blah, 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 blah. Or you might put it at the end of the phrase. Yes, so he was unable to carry out his activities of daily living prior to the operation. Okay, makes more sense to do it at the beginning of the sentence though, because it really indicates the time to the reader. On admission often goes at the beginning of the sentence. So on admission, oops, followed by a comma. On admission, comma, he underwent, let's go with angioplasty, for example. Again, you can put it at the end of the sentence. He underwent an angioplasty on admission, but it's, I think it's much better to put it at the beginning of the sentence. Okay. Let's move on. So a few other phrases, these are more advanced phrases, and I'd recommend using these only if you're really confident in how they work. Okay, so despite is one that people like to use a lot. Make sure you're using it correctly. Okay, so it's despite the fact that followed by a clause. What I mean by a clause is it's like a normal sentence. It's got a subject and a verb, for example. So that's a clause. It stands alone on its own. Yeah, he only weighs 51 kilograms. So this phrase, he denies he is underweight despite the fact that he only weighs 51 kilograms. Or we can use despite followed by the ing or noun form. So he denies he is underweight despite weighing only 51 kilograms. Okay, so in this version, weighing only 51 kilograms doesn't work on its own. Okay, so make sure if you're using subject, verb, etc., you must include the fact that. If you're using ing form or the noun, just use despite and no fact that. Okay, again, if you're not confident in using this, you can just say but. Yeah, he denies he is underweight, but he only weighs 51 kilograms, for example. Okay, you don't need to overcomplicate it if you're not confident in doing it. Another one you might use, and I think this is a good linking expression to use in the right context, would be for which. Okay, so he seemed to be having financial difficulties for which an appointment with the advisor has been made. So here you've got a clear link, yeah, for which. So an appointment has been made for his financial difficulties. Again, here she presented with a UTI for which antibiotics were prescribed. Okay, it's a really good phrase to use when you're connecting a medication to a specific medical condition. Just a couple of notes about what to avoid. So if you're not confident in using the linkers, don't use them. But really make sure you're avoiding using overly academic connectors such as moreover. This is a phrase that many people like to use, and it's just not appropriate for an OET letter. Also, don't be too informal. So don't use things like besides or so and things like that. So, final little activity. I've got here an extract or a mini sample letter, if you will. What I'd like you to do is to read through the letter, pause the video and decide how you would complete this letter using a suitable linker. Okay, so pause the video now. Let's take a look at some possibilities. So I'm writing regarding Mrs. Smith, who was admitted to a hospital on the 4th of February with a fractured femur, following a fall or after a fall. She underwent an open reduction internal fixation and is now ready to be discharged back into your care. So, and it's probably the most logical linker to use here. It's simple, but it's effective. It works. After the operation, Mrs. Smith was administered antibiotics and analgesics. Alternate staples have been removed and the wound is clean and dry. The remaining staples need to be removed on the 12th of February, after which the wound can stay exposed, and then the wound can stay exposed. Paracetamol can be given for the pain as needed. And then here, currently, Mrs. Smith needs help mobilizing and requires full assistance for her ADLs. Another linker that would work here would be after discharge, perhaps. We need to see the case notes to understand the context a bit better, but currently works. After discharge also works. Okay. So some top tips on improving your use of linking expressions in OET writing. Again, look at sample letters. Notice how the ideas have been linked together. There's lots of good examples on the OET website. And write lots of example sentences so that you can become confident in using them accurately. Thanks for watching. If you want more help with your OET writing, including linking and much, much more, just click on the link in the description box below and enroll on our course. Don't forget to check out our website and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more tips and strategies for OET success. See you next time. Bye.